Welcome back, everyone, to the LEC studio in Berlin. It's me, Frosk, and Vedius, who just got off the best cast of his life of Rogue versus XL. And the key player of the game is Kikis with 40% of the votes. A couple of thoughts. It could have gone to Scuttle Crab. It's good to go to Urgot Jungle. And great that it went to Kikis.
I definitely think that the bright side of the game for me was Kikis had a good understanding that if Urgot is gonna spend time top lane, then I am going to gank bot lane. Yeah. And I think they did a great job of shutting down the Draven. So props to Kikis. Yeah. I think he had a good game.
If Twitter was ever going to be the superior analyst on any game, it was definitely going to be that one.
And at that, you can say it's a dark moment in the history of EU or a great moment. Twitter at this point in time is in the lead, is the superior analyst right now because of that Rogue win.
They can have that one.
They can have that.
Say about that what you will. We are going to look ahead towards Team Vitality versus Splyce. And this is a very important game for both sides. Since Sjokz dropped a game earlier, Vitality could take sole possession of second place, and it is equally important for Splyce in that race for playoffs. However, I want to start talking about Team Vitality, and I want to look at it through the lens of how much are they improving, or do they look different compared to the Vitality we saw in 2018? How would you describe them so far?
I think they're very inconsistent. I'm glad you mentioned 2018 because this is a far cry from the 2018 Vitality that we saw. Last year, they were all about early jungle domination off the back of very strong, consistent performing laners. And right now, we have inconsistencies in Mowgli. Is he going to show up or not? We don't know. Attila and Jactroll are sometimes dying in lane. Sometimes they're snowballing their lane. It just seems that you don't know what Vitality is going to show up on the day.
And the thing is they're taking so many wins where they really shouldn't, and it comes down to that clutch performance. Because while they've been inconsistent, you still do sometimes get these pop-off performances from the likes of Cabochard and Jiizuké. But it's just as Vedius is saying. The Rogue game comes to mind. The Sjokz game comes to mind, and like stark contrast. It's just like these crazy moments where you're like, oh, that's the most Vitality win ever.
Let me be devil's advocate for a minute, though, because when I think back to last year's Vitality, people would hate playing against them because they would win like this. You would have Jiizuké 1v3ing with Rides in the bottom lane. You would have Attila TPing into the Nexus or to backdoor the game. So I feel like these are things that were already there. Do you guys think it's gotten worse?
My problem is that they rely on these techniques to win games. And I don't think that you can, especially when trying to face teams like G2 and Schalke. Because even though they had a convincing dominant win against Schalke last week, if you aren't able to replicate that performance, coming into playoffs, you're just a wild card. And it's not the level that they want if they want to try and secure a title.
Yeah, it's time for Vitality to kind of mature and become that Class A team that we know that they can be. Because again, you still have such strong carries like Cabochard and Jiizuké. And Cabochard in particular has been straight smurfing so far. But I feel like a lot of that has been because of his champion pool, because he is almost entirely reliant on Urgot. Now, he does play a lot of Jace as well, but when looking at his numbers, they are disgustingly good. But I'm curious why teams keep giving him those champions that he starts popping off on.
This is a strangely arousing image. Maybe it's because of the style.
That was a strange word choice.
It is a strange word choice. We're going to move right along. It is the fact that you say they can still rely on Jiizuké and Cabochard, but we want to see the next evolution of Vitality, and we want to bit more consistency across the board. So let's take a look at their opponents there. This one, whilst we get a nice little tracking shot of that one. They're up against Splyce. Now in the race for playoffs, this is super important for direct seeding and also for Splyce to be a part of that top 2 discussion. They need to pick up a win here. And while Vitality is wildly inconsistent, at least Splyce is consistent in the sense that they want to get to late game and then they want to beat you.
And the thing about Splyce is you get the same thing every single game. You said it. They often get to the late game, and that's often how they win their games. But in the early game, it is just Xerxe. Every game, ganking, 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 ganking. He always sets up early kills for the rest of his team. And you know, you talk about so often, Frost, importance for the team, and I feel like Xerxe is one of those players.
Yeah, it's the idea that while he's not the best jungler in the LEC, like Selfmade, he's probably the most important jungler for his team. And I think it really is a toss-up between Xerxe and Selfmade, particularly for how high Splyce sitting in the standings. He's the OG Karthus player. You'll constantly see Karthus bans leverage against him. He has such a deep and versatile champion pool. He can play the scaling, he can play the lane phase, and if anything is kind of the X factor that takes Splyce to the next level, level, it's this guy's performance.
And I really wanted to highlight the difference in his wins and losses, and you'll notice there isn't one.
Yeah.
He has high kills plus assists, he has high kill participation, he has high team jungle proximity. Like, this guy plays very well every single game. It just, when you get to the mid game, they consistently make those mistakes. And it's so strange to think that they sit so high in the standings when they so consistently play in the same way.
Yeah, at TLDR, we have strong, consistent carries on both lineup, but not necessarily consistently racking up wins for both teams. And this is a game that is incredibly important for the standings. There's only one win separating these teams. So let's see who comes out on top of Splyce versus Vitality.
Thank you, Sjokz. Good evening, guys. I'm Daniel Drakos, joined by Christy Ender Frierson, the Sundance kid to my Butch Cassidy. Hello, friend. It's been a while. We're back together for what is going to be an incredibly exciting match of Splyce versus Vitality. Do we see monstrous destroying Schalke Vitality today, or do we see very lost versus SK Vitality today?
Look, I think the analyst set it up perfectly here because we're coming in, it's a battle of consistency versus volatility. And as you said, Vitality is the volatile team here on the day. So the question is, will their high be enough to overcome Vitality or overcome Splyce, or will Splyce be able to shut them down and make them look foolish?
Look, there's a lot of yellow in the logos
There's
on
so
stage.
much yellow.
I'm not gonna knock you for it, but luckily they've been sorted blue and red. Vitality, of course, on the red side. Splyce on the blue as we enter the pick ban phase. Ryze taken off the board immediately, denying that from Jiizuké. But I think eyes do have to be on that Urgot ban. The desk already brought it up.
Yep, the cab got, as the desk said, already seeing some nice picks here on the side of Vitality taken away. Of course, Jiizuké synonymous with the champion Ryze, and Cabochard has been piloting the Jace as his secondary pick alongside the Urgot to try and dominate out of the top lane. And the analyst desk was wondering, is he one of the most dominators in the top lane, or is the Urgot propping him up? And I think Splyce might be wanting to sort of force him onto that Urgot pick.
Splyce could be the team to answer that question for us. We will find out. Cabo getting a lot more attention this season than he has in splits past. Of course, the stats showing that it's working out for Vitality, but maybe today is a different story. Maybe today's the day he's stuck on tank duty. We'll see, though. It really only feels like Sion is the only tank at the top lane, so it seems pretty hard to force someone.
Yeah, Sion's definitely the only true tank up top side. Ooh. And for all these players here, I think Cabochard is one of the ones that absolutely does not want to play those tanks. The Urgot is about as tanky as it gets. Other than that, it's been the Jace 3 times and a Rumble pick once. So with Urgot up and available, we expect him to go for that champion.
Except they banned it away themselves. Christy, I know. You had the mental block. You saw it. You're like, there's no way they'd do that. But they did, Christy. They took it away from Cabo. Now maybe our eyes go to something like a Kennen if they want a priority first pick top lane. But for now, the Zoe has been locked in by the side of Splyce, and it's interesting to see a non-flex pick kind of first picked here in the mid lane.
Yeah, I like seeing this Draven here too for Attila. I mean, this guy got a lot of confidence back after his match against Schalke last week. He smacked Upset in that matchup. He carried his team for that victory. So now trying to get him on something lane dominant. We've seen Draven paired along things like the Thresh in the past to look for those 2v2 kills and to set up for great ganks from this jungler Mowgli.
Instead, though, it is going to be the Jarvan locked in. Now, this has historically gone to the hands of Mowgli. Cabo has yet to play it this season, though we have seen the pick on the top side of the map in two very different games from Mowgli last week. One, he was invisible. One, he was literally everywhere. So once again, that volatility does come into question as we get further into the draft.
Mowgli, one of those players that always loves to lock in the champions that can go fight at level 2 and invade into the enemy jungle, where Xerxe usually puts some more scaling on his side. We've seen the Karthus banned away already, but the Sejuani would be another one of those picks that paired up alongside the Zoe. Wouldn't surprise me to see look for some picks in the mid to late game.
Also just excellent in the hands of Xerxe. Now with the Jarvan already up, there is one ult for Sylas to steal, and immediately it is going to be picked up. Where it's going to go, we still don't know. Of course, a lot of players on this team that are known as innovators, Xerxe and Vizicsacsi especially, and that is the 3 potential places it could go, although I feel like not going to go into the mid lane with the Zoe already picked.
Yeah, definitely going to be the top lane Sylas at the moment. Would be my guess. That's going to be the Ekko already locked in here for Jiizuké. This is another one of those classic picks that he's gone back to time and time again in the past. And you might look at it and be like, hey, a melee champion to Zoe seems pretty scary, but he can force onto the Zoe with this Ekko pick. And if he ever does get hit by a bubble and thinks he's in some trouble, he can ulti out of that and just completely negate the poke.
All right, and I'm going to be honest, I love these compositions already. I feel like all of these are going to be so explosive. The Sylas, the potential to engage, to go in for those aggressive trades. You talked about it earlier today. It's almost the way that you have to play him if you want to come out on top. But interestingly enough, the Galio, the Poppy, now the more defensive picks being banned away, which is even more what I want to see, because if all the defensive picks are gone and all you have left is aggressive picks, Ender, then people are gonna go down.
Yeah, we love kills here in the LEC, especially if we're looking at our last game. But the thing that catches my eye here with the Galio ban is that I think that's actually directed towards the support pool. We've seen Galio support played a ton over in the LCK, and with already seeing the mid lane locked in for Jiizuké, we can expect now that Splyce are trying to limit some of these champions that can force all-ins here alongside Draven to look for early game kills.
And of course, a terrifying combo of the Jarvan and the Galio together. Aatrox, now the Kennen going to be banned away as well. Going to limit the option for Kobbe. Of course, we'll have the final pick here on the red side, but the Thresh, the immediate lock-in for Attila. Draven Thresh, a lane you brought up earlier.
Yeah, I'm wondering now what Splyce have in mind, because you have to expect the Thresh is going to come in from Jactroll. He just loves that champion, and alongside the Draven, we know they can make some plays. So for this side of Splyce, I still see Alistar as an option to pair alongside the Lucian. That can be some strong 2v2 all-ins as well.
Ooh.
No, oh my goodness!
Oh, I love it. This is what I want, Ender!
This is so sick. And so Blitzcrank Theorycraft time, right? You see a Draven on the other side. Draven, he has these giant targets that appear on the ground, or he wants to run. He has to run to pick them up to win the trade. So what does Blitzcrank do? He just throws a skill shot at that circle, yanks him in, and if he misses, that means Draven dropped his axe, so it's a win-win situation.
I'm ready to see it. Although now the final pick, this hover, does have me wondering a little bit what's going to happen here. Looks like that is a Ornn now locked in. Norskeren Braum just goes hand in hand. You got to bear with me here. And that could mean that we see Sylas in the jungle, Ender.
Yeah, now this is really interesting, because I wasn't thinking that we were going to see Sylas in the jungle. He is definitely playable, and that's one of the strengths of Sylas, is you can flex him between mid and that jungle position. But now up against an Elise, this is a champion in Sylas that falls very low in his first clear. Mowgli now taking the Elise, flexing Jarvan to topside, is looking to go ham here in the early game.
Of course, Ornn now versus the J4. We have the Elise versus the Sylas. Ekko versus the Zoe on the opposite side. Ender, we have two very explosive compositions. You got to tell me where to look, because I feel like any lane I point to is going to have some kind of action in it.
There's going to be action all over the place. Specifically, I like this middle lane. We have Zoe versus Ekko. Jiizuké's classic Ekko here, and with the jungler in the Elise, I want to see Vitality now playing around mid to top side of the map, because Elise alongside Ekko can look to pressure the Zoe. It can also be so devastating alongside the Jarvan. Level 2, level 3 ganks up to the top side are going to blow Vizicsacsi out of the water.
It is going to be, of course, a lot of pressure to find leads in the early game with a pick like that Elise. Jungle Sylas, the first time we see it on this stage. I want to see exactly what its clear looks like, how it's going to be utilized in team fights. A lot of questions are going to be answered in this game. Under consistency for Vitality, can Splyce transition those early leads into something more, into a snowballed win? That is what we're going to find out in this matchup. Vitality versus Splyce. And all I know for sure is that I'm hard willing to bet that there will be at least 5 kills within the first 15 minutes.
Oh.
I feel it. I feel it in my bones.
We might have 10 kills, Drakos.
Yes.
These are absolutely wild
I don't even care if you're just trying to rile me up right now. That's what I wanted to hear, Ender.
Oh man, I'm ready for this. Splyce coming in just one game in the standings behind Vitality, trying to bring some consistency, but I see this team comp, I do not see consistency. I see a lot of players that want to make some plays by themselves, and the question is, can it pay off as we get into this match?
All right, Fnatic Jarvan reminding us that Trinity Force and Death's Dance is the way to go. Don't know if we'll see that from Kobbe, but we will find out. Splyce versus Vitality, now setting foot onto the Rift. Of course, jungle starts, always going to be important here as we set foot into these games. And the Elise versus Sylas, once again, not a matchup that I'm familiar with.
Luckily I am, because actually, see, when I left EULCS, as it was called last year, you might remember that, I went back to
Briefly.
NA for a little while.
You did.
And I was working with the playtest team again. And you know what we were working on while I was there?
Was it Sylas?
It was Sylas. And you know what role I play?
Is it jungle?
It's jungle. Wow. So I played a lot of jungle Sylas. You're just on fire today, Drakos.
Thank you.
Now the question is, will Xerxe be? Because honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the Sylas pick in this role, and that's because he takes a while before he can sort of scale up. Because his first clear, he falls very, very low. Where you usually see him use his W to get a lot of sustain in lane, he's not going to be able to do that in his jungle. So you have to think of this champion more like a Nidalee, where his first clear, pretty weak, he's going to fall low, he probably doesn't want to do any fighting. After his first base, though, he's going to get his upgraded jungle item, he's going to do much better at clearing the jungle, and then once he gets runic echoes, he blitzes through camps, and that's really when he's going to have a lot more power in this game.
Well, Xerxe has options to start with the E, the Abscon Abduct. We'll get some good AoE damage down there on the passive. Gets 2 procs of it, though.
And that's the biggest part here on the Sylas. He's actually done this before, I can tell, because he knows exactly how many ticks the Talisman is going to do on that Raptor camp. Ooh. So he actually has a pretty good early clear already starting on the Raptor camp. The question is, will he go over towards the Krugs next to hit the early level 3, then maybe look for a base, which might set him up for a pretty solid second round through the jungle clear.
Ender, now that we've talked a little bit about the jungle matchup, I think we will have to watch the Elise to a certain degree, but I do want your thoughts on the bottom side of the map because we are seeing a lot of aggressive trading back and forth. It looks like a hook did connect from Norskeren, not enough to get Attila to force his flash, but pressure here already very much in favor of the Vitality bot lane.
Yep, level 1 Draven can be able to push pretty easily, picking up those axes. Thresh also can actually walk up and apply pressure through the wave because he can start with his E, whereas Blitzcrank, it's a little more hard, especially against professional players, to land that level 1 poke for a sick engagement, but he lands his
connect. Aftershock has already been procced. The Ignite is now ticking down. Kobbe is going to go for the aggressive flash. He's moving forward. He wants to kill onto Attila. That's first blood. Nice signature pick, Kobbe says, taking him down.
Yeah, Norskeren comes in with a pick of his own. The Blitzcrank hits him with the lap PM too. You hate to see that if you're Attila. And in the draft, we're like, man, Attila coming off last week with so much confidence. Well, you die at level 2 to a Blitzcrank hook. You better believe that's all gone now for the Vitality bot lane.
Got some boots now, can look to dodge future hooks, but definitely not the start that the Draven ever wants to have. Norskeren, fantastic hook there, and you got to feel like Attila just wasn't respecting the accuracy from Norskeren.
Now here I'm looking at Mowgli, because I know he loves to get inside the enemy jungle. And Cabochard actually walked in earlier after pushing to put down a nice ward. Xerxe going to be walking all the way around here, doesn't actually know where Mowgli is on the map. So this is going to mean he uses his E over the wall. That doesn't give him a tool to get out, but he does not get the smite.
Now has to back off here, not going to be able to get anything else. Mowgli's going to grab the camp in the end, but Vizicsacsi just going to be an escape route for the Elise, and Jarvan is here. Just try it, but that's a low health bar for Mowgli. He's already used the escape, and they're going to immediately go in. Another kill for Splyce here, Ender.
Splyce are just abusing some miscommunication issues here because Cabochard is walking away as Mowgli goes for the engagement. Splyce absolutely abusing. We said Vitality were going to be a volatile team coming in here, and Splyce have found 2 huge openings to jump out to an early lead.
And Mowgli going for the aggressive counter jungle here. Humanoid though. Sleepy Trouble will come in just in time, not going to get stunned up. But so interesting to see that aggressive use of the repel, or the defensive use of the repel to take him to safety, and still Splyce willing to commit on the back of that play. Yeah,
I mean, I thought Mowgli was going to be able to get out of there alive, honestly, because you look at the 2v2 of an Elise Jarvan against that of an Ornn Sylas, it's probably not going to be that good, but because Splyce were able to get all of their damage onto Mowgli before Cabo even entered into the fight, they were able to get that kill, and Kobbe, once he uses EQ, isn't going to have too much to offer in that engagement.
Did have to back off burn. So many of those cooldowns does not work out in the end. We check it on the gold, Ender 800 gold lead. Suddenly, he's gotten that first back off for Xerxe. He's gotten that small advantage that he may have needed to get his jungle kick-started. Kobbe just doing what he can to continue trading effectively on the top side of the map. But for now, Splyce, the early game that we say comes in every game so incredibly consistently is there once again, and not necessarily in a match we'd expect it to.
No, definitely not. This is one of those games where getting an early advantage is going to springboard you into a very powerful mid game, because this composition from Splyce is excellent at singling out individual targets. You have Zoe plus Blitzcrank, which is absolutely fantastic for trying to find any picks, and then eventually Xerxe can go ahead and grab a Cabochard ultimate, use that to jump onto any flashless target, because he has so many gap closes with the double cast of the E into the R. He can be that pseudo Jarvan and find those engagements.
Kobbe may be someone that you have to keep your eyes on as we look forward, as we look for a way to Vitality to make up some of this gold difference. But I think once again, eyes have to shift down to the bottom side of the map. Attila, some really unforced errors here. Doesn't use the flash there in that exchange, and you can see how good he is when he is on point, how dominant this player can be. But we've also seen the other side of the coin, Ender.
We absolutely have. It's been a real question mark here for Vitality's bottom lane in the split. I mean, in games they win, Vitality and Jactroll look very, very good, but in the games they lose, it is not the same story, and that's why the concern has to be with Attila dying at level 2 with Norskeren and Kobbe having complete control of this lane. Let's look at top.
Play on the top side, immediately Mowgli can swap form, get the chain CC, follow up, and a kill now traded back, just as predicted, coming in right on that Jarvan level 6 too.
I mean, Jarvan Elise is so nasty, especially when you're looking at an Ornn, who a few patches ago lost the, guess what, he lost the shield. That makes trading and stepping forward in lane a little bit harder. And without the flash as well, a very easy kill, a very easy turret plate to be picked up solo here by Cabochard is going to give him an even bigger gold advantage. It's 700 gold in the top lane because he's been smashing in CS. He gets that kill, he gets the plate. He's in a great position to try and impact the rest of the game off of this advantage.
And they're going to need to. Hook. Oh. Good use of the Blood Rush, makes it out. We've all been there. We've all tried to outrun the Blitzcrank hook. Doesn't work out as well for some of us, but Attila does manage to make it to safety.
You can see, though, after the hook goes down, exactly what Jactroll and Attila do. They step up much more aggressively in lane because, let's face it, when Blitz misses his hook, the rest of his kit just does nothing in the 2v2 unless you go for a full commitment, and even then, it's going to be much weaker. So look for Vitality, now that they've fallen a little bit behind, to play around that cooldown, and that's when they can go aggressive, when it is down.
See if there's any other points of aggression. Xerxe, of course, now with the level 6 means he can start to take some of these ultimates, get a little bit creative. Stealing an Ekko ult, very nice. Stealing Jarvan as well. Really a lot of good options here. Bot lane not quite as appealing.
Yeah, he can also just turn into a spider for as long as he wants, whenever he wants, which it's a little interesting, and I talked about this at the top of the day.
Is that the one that we needed to talk about, was the spider one?
Well, because some people don't know. It's like, well, what happens when you get transformed? Bot lane, Attila with the flash.
Hook goes in, nice pull forward. They are going to get the knockups. They're immediately.
Oh my God!
Oh God! Give him a chance to move!
That was dirty! You can see on the other side of the map, though, Vitality zoning Chachi off of this wave. I mean, it's Splyce that are getting the kills, and they still have this large advantage, especially in the area of the map where it matters, because eventually we're going to get to late game. Chachi's just going to be buying items for Kobbe to carry even harder.
Oh no, here it comes. One more time. Unstoppable there, but the Cataclysm is going to come out. They're going to look to grab one more kill onto Vizicsacsi. Does stun into the wall, now trying to pull back Cabochard. He's going to be able to make out Mowgli. I don't think it's going to be so lucky, though. Well played by Vizicsacsi in the end, and looks not 10 minutes and there's 6 kills. Ender, we are on track, sir, to your 10-kill prediction.
We're doing it, and man, that feels so bad, because honestly, Mowgli played that really well. He didn't quite have a flash up just yet, but he gets blocked by the post. Now, of course, in the bottom lane, Attila and Jactroll actually played the start of it pretty nicely, but he gets yoinked straight out of the lantern. That is just a bad news for Attila as we move forward to see this play up the top side. And Chachi, his mistake is he doesn't realize there's a ward in this bush. He was trying to sneak up close to maybe get some experience, but didn't realize Mowgli was wrapping around towards going for that tower dive. But great placement on the Q there stops Mowgli from getting out with his life.
We haven't seen this champion be successful in so long. I forgot how obnoxious that Ornn little pillar can be. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a pause now. We will see how this one unfolds, but already a very electric matchup, kind of as expected, seeing a lot of resources put into topside once again for Kobbe, without the Urgot, without the Jace, which I think is cool that they are willing to commit even without some of those comfort picks there.
Yeah, and I mean, as soon as they sort of put Jarvan into the top side of the map, it made me think, hey, Mowgli's going to want to play for this lane, but it becomes a little bit awkward, I think, when you see the overall draft, because yes, you want to play for topside, that's where you get the freest kills, but at the same time, you have a Draven Thresh on the other side of the map. That lane is supposed to go aggressive. It's supposed to be, trying to cash in that passive. And because now Mowgli's been sort of, baited into playing for this top side of the map, for lack of a better word, now Attila and Jactroll are being pressured by Xerxe. They've lost the 2v2, and they're 0-2 on a Draven pick that probably shouldn't be 0-2 if you're trying to pick it in your first rotation.
That's kind of one of the difficult things about Vitality when they try to draft these lanes, where, especially with the Draven, where if you get that kill, it takes off and it feels so good. But if you're not willing to commit the resources there, it always feels a little bit awkward. Ender, of course, the icing on the cake in this matchup is a lot of the banter going down between Jactroll and Norskeren.
Oh yeah?
Have you seen Shrek? Are you familiar with the Gingerbread Man?
I'm familiar with the Gingerbread Man. Yeah.
So the only reason this is show appropriate is because they used a gingerbread man, but Jactroll basically said, I'm going to tear your gingerbread legs off and mock you with them. So really wholesome, because it's a gingerbread man.
It's not wholesome, man.
It's Shrek.
Think about the gingerbread man. What do you ever do to you?
It's a family film. All right, well, luckily we can drop it. Splyce.
Get that image. I can't get that image out of my head.
Watch the movie. It's wholesome, I swear. You're just too young. All right, moving in, 9 minutes into the game, 4-2 is the kill score. Humanoid's gonna grab that one. The gold, though, surprisingly even, and a lot of that is going to be, once again, on the top side. Once again, Kobbe, the man that we have to talk about. And if we take a chance to look at some of his stats, you can see why Vitality might be willing to invest resources into him, because 30 CS leads in a 2-0 scoreline is definitely where you want to be.
Yeah, and I mean, this guy has just been top of the league, honestly. And I think even last year, too, he was a super strong top laner, didn't get the praise he deserved. He comes into 2019 and has been dominating. We had questions. Is it just the Urgot? Well, the Jarvan has looked real good, too, with some assistance here from Mowgli. So now the question is, with that time put into the man in the top lane for Vitality, can he turn that into an advantage across the rest of the map? He doesn't have teleport, but Jactroll and Mowgli are looking for a play on this bottom side of the map.
Here comes Jiizuké, Kobbe, that's not the bush you want to feed. Oh, he showed! Still get the hook, though. JCC, Lucian gonna try to dash, but no hope. Shut down now, gold going to the Elise.
Yep, a lot of goals here for the Elise. Should push her forward for that Runic Echoes to match the pace of Xerxe. Unfortunately for Attila, wasn't quite in range, couldn't land the Whirling Death to get a kill, or at the very least, an assist, as Cabochard takes a monster trade against Sjokz.
Trying to avoid some of these trades here, but now the Zoe's moving up as well. If Kobbe wants to get aggressive here, he's going to get knocked up. The damage coming forward. Now Sleepy desperately wants to get the kill. Asleep tries to block out a little bit here. Vizicsacsi fails the flash. Can't get it. Shut down. Going over to the Ornn, and immediately that lane matchup is going to be so evened out.
Yeah, I mean, Sjokz was down 1,000 gold. A 500 shutdown bounty makes him come right back into the game.
Immediately has a 450 gold bounty. This is League of Legends, folks. It is no longer... It is a game about bounty hunting. That's what you need to understand. And Jiizuké is a man who wants 450 gold.
Jiizuké is actually running the Unsealed Spellbook. He popped the Ghost there to try to run into the top lane as fast as he could, because he knew Sjokz didn't have the ultimate. Wasn't able to get much out of it, unfortunately for himself, though.
And we check back in. We look across the map at some of the plays that have been going down. And this one, you can see why Kobbe wants to go. He knows that he's the guy that has to make a play, but just does not respect the presence from the Zoe.
Yeah, well, the problem is that Jiizuké is hovering towards the bottom side of mid lane because he was just coming off of that kill in the bottom side. So Cabochard obviously not watching the minimap, not communicating well enough with his lanes, and he tries to dunk him for the kill there, but gets put to sleep. And a great flash from Sjokz. He stays in range so he can get the clap from his passive and get the shutdown, but he avoids the Q from Cabochard to stay alive.
All right. Good flash. I thought bad flash first time. I like
he dodged it. It was sick.
Works out. Could have flashed over the wall. Chose not to. Stayed in the play. Of course, Kobbe should still, in theory, be in an okay spot in this lane, but sadly, without the Black Cleaver finished, the armor coming in now is going to be very difficult.
Definitely is. Of course, for Sjokz, he's just trying to sustain through this lane. Because, of course, you want to hit level 13, level 14, and start buying those Ornn upgrade items for your team. That was the biggest change with Ornn, really felt like. He got his Unstoppable back, lost the shield on his W, but now, instead of having his own teammate spend 1,000 gold in the shop to get those upgrades, he just gets to choose who gets them, doesn't have to spend a penny. All it needs is to hit that level 13 mark, turn to level 14, you can start donating one item per level.
It's going to be very strong, especially on a lot of these champions that are going to get more and more terrifying as the game progresses. Notably the Sylas, the Zoe as well, getting some of these item spikes. Already obnoxious to deal with, but for now, Splyce pushing in their vision a little bit, trying to gain more control over the jungle. Mowgli doing his best to dance around it, but Sylas with this Ekko ult feels a little untouchable. However, Zoe not quite so untouchable. Jiizuké, though, playing this one slow, now trying to back off as Norskeren has made his way into the lane.
Oh, Mowgli gets caught. Okay. Well, Splyce had walked all the way inside of Vitality's jungle and had gotten the drop down on Mowgli to get the kill. Now topside, Sjokz in trouble.
Flag and drag and use the Cataclysm as well. Vizicsacsi, no flash available. He's going to try to use the ultimate to try to turn this one back, but we'll get nothing there. That is the shutdown.
450 gold shutdown traded right back. So it's like the first kill never even happened. He got 50 gold out of killing the Jarvan right there. So they should be able to try and knock down a turret plate or two. Cabochard is fairly low, but he should know that the rest of Splyce is on the bottom side of the map. He sticks around for that one solo, and we'll trade that kill and a bit of extra gold for the Cloud Drake.
Cloud Drake, of course, going to be nice to have on a lot of these champions. The Zoe, the Sylas especially. Other champions, and the Blitzcrank. Not quite as keen, but definitely not ideal. Obviously, you always kind of want something like an Infernal when you're playing with the poke of a Zoe, but Jactroll looking to make something happen. Immediate cleanse is going to be used now. Pull back to the team. Beautiful use of the Lantern. Jiizuké, though, not going to be able to get anything else here. All summoners burn from Humanoid in that exchange.
Hey, that was a really nice play there from Jactroll to set up for Jiizuké. And while that was all happening, Cabochard used his TP to get into the top lane to take 2 more plates for himself. So Vitality are really trying to snowball this top side of the map. And now that Humanoid doesn't have any summoner spells, it's very easy for them to take control over this river and look for a potential fight.
Flying Drag once again, Kobbe, every time he finds the opportunity, will go in. Now with the Black Cleaver available as well, it's a pretty big difference in relative damage output. But Ender, as we see this Riptail go down, I do want to talk a little bit about scaling. Of course, something we always have to hit in these games, but these 2 comps, obviously very unique. So I'm curious who you think has the edge here.
Well, as far as edge, I almost always have to give it to Zoe because she can create so much pressure with the poke she provides. And it's pretty easy to single out some of these targets on the Vitality side if you are Humanoid and you have vision control. But that's the key part right here. Splyce, in order to sort of accelerate the game, need to have vision control so they can set up for Blitzcrank for Zoe. But they do have the added flexibility because Sylas can switch over to that Jarvan ult. They can use that alongside the Ornn to start team fights once they have the poke down.
Well, Kobbe's immediately going to go in here on the play. Mowgli now in trouble, has to go up, comes right back down, wants to get out of this play immediately. Xerxe has stolen the ultimate, is now going to fall off Norskeren, throwing the hook over the wall, and Jiizuké and the rest of the team now fighting here. That's going to be the cash-in for Attila. Massive spike in gold, trying to chain the CC. They're going to move in. They're not going to get the follow-up on the Ekko, but Norskeren is still set to fall. The Z-Dive Resonance speeding him up, and that's the double for Attila.
Attila putting some money in the bank right there, and that was the most Vitality fight ever. The mid-outer turret is still up, but they just run straight into the jungle. Because Kobbe is down in the bottom lane, they had so much confidence to make that play happen. And they take complete control of the top side, but now a teleport comes in. That's going to be from Vizicsacsi, and he has the Ornn horn.
Gonna be big here. Gonna have to see if we get the follow-up connect. Xerxe now ready to leap forward. Knows that the Thresh is the priority target. Has seen the Lantern come out. Kobbe is next on the menu. Holding his time on the flag and drag. Backing off. Does not quite have enough mana. Just wants to clear the wave. Now juking around to get the knock-up. Well played by Kobbe, but not enough. Abscond, abduct, and that's gonna be a death. Who's gonna get it? Kobbe?
There we go.
Shut
Ooh,
down.
shut down.
Going to the Lucian.
Yeah, lots of money right there for Kobbe. And I mean, Splyce take advantage of an overstay there from Vitality. But let's see this fight one more time because Mowgli and the rest of Vitality know they can walk past this turret with the Rift Herald. They engage here over onto Chachi inside the jungle, meaning he can't get his ultimate off. That means the team fight is a no-go here for Splyce. Kobbe isn't in the picture, so the rest of Vitality just walk straight on in, push Splyce completely out of their jungle, and with a good flash, they pick up an extra kill onto Norskeren.
Double kill, double cash in. Second one obviously very small for the Draven, but still a massive difference here. And you were talking about how important vision is for this comp as we watch the rest of the play roll out. Well, Vitality did their diligence, got all the vision on top side. The good news for Splyce though, they do in the end get this kill. Kobbe does his best to outplay, but of course Sylas has the potential to chase you.
Yeah, I mean, I just scratched my head wondering why Vitality stay pushing top lane because Attila runs back to mid, he wants to pick up some farm, and there's no way they can get the turret in time. They were expecting a 2v turret, sure, they didn't think a TP was gonna come through, but you have to be able to foresee all of those sorts of plays, otherwise you're gonna give Splyce an opportunity to get back in the game, but not if you catch out Humanoid.
Yeah, not if you catch out Humanoid. Humanoid now running, he's gonna hit the Thresh, but that's the least important target. Whirling Death, the Draven on a killing spree. Just when you think you've shut him out of the game, he finds 3 quick kills across these fights, and now a 2K gold lead coming in for Vitality.
So by the way, we did hit the 15, or we hit more than 10 kills in 15 minutes. Just thought you might want to know that. But now is where the game gets really interesting, I think, for Vitality. Because Jiizuké, you don't see it right now, but he has the teleport. He's just switched over with the Unsealed Spellbook. He dominates in a side lane against pretty much anyone. And Splyce, they don't really have someone that can match him. Right now it's Chachi, but if Cabo and Jiizuké both go into opposite lanes on the map, you're going to have to make Humanoid actually leave, which is really bad for this team comp, because I firmly believe the only way they really make things happen very distinctly is off of good bubble plays. And if Humanoid is sent to bottom lane in a bad matchup where he has to just clear waves, that's going to be a real big trouble here for Splyce.
Jiizuké is moving down to that bottom side. Vizicsacsi, as predicted, is backing off. Can't, of course, take any of those trades. Now, Ender, if you are playing on the side of Vitality here, you talked about the difficulties for Splyce, but Vitality, how are they going to close this out? What is kind of the next step for this team?
Well, they're going to be looking towards this Drake in the next 10 seconds. They have complete vision dominance over this bottom side, and actually the top side of the map too. They have a lot of control wards sprinkled around. They haven't really been focusing on just one area of the map, but just because their team comp is so threatening, they can sort of jump on you at a moment's notice, Splyce have been very hesitant to sort of push up now that they've lost that outer turret. It's only now that they have Kobbe pushing up on the top side that they're bringing some support around him to start layering down some vision, knowing that Baron is going to be spawning in a minute, and that is the next real objective on the map for them to contest.
And this is interesting. Splyce moved to the top side, expecting to get a trade here, but Vitality now willing to match. Mowgli coming in quick. Not quick enough, though. Cloud Drake and this movement speed steroid from the Blitzcrank will take him out to safety. Kobbe, though, could be in trouble if the flag drag and the ulti comes out, but pretty easy for Lucian to dash from that one. Hook is going to go wide there. Splyce now backing off, and the tower will stay up.
Yeah, this play from Vitality was actually really interesting because I expected them to just sacrifice the tower and take the dragon. But what they don't want to give up is control over this river. Because, well, we said Splyce have a good pick comp. Vitality have Jarvan, they have Thresh, they have Elise. They have a lot of ways to sort of catch out your targets who are trying to layer down vision for your team. So by not sacrificing top lane turret, they force Splyce away from that area of the map. Splyce aren't able to put down any vision in towards the river. And now they get a free dragon without trading anything on the opposite side.
Well played, now matching the clouds here, so both teams are just going to be able to chase their respective opponents. Level 11, still just shy for the Sylas. Not too important for the Elise, but will be an important break point. I think whenever we talk about Sylas, we always talk about kind of this level 16 as being this big point. That's the one in solo queue that always feels so oppressive when he is able to steal ults back to back to back.
Yeah, that's the sort of interesting thing in this game because honestly, I'm not too impressed with the ultimates he can get. Of course, he'll be able to pick up the Thresh ult for some extra CC. He has a lot of zone control with the Thresh as well as the Jarvan, but in terms of the rest, he does have some long range on the Draven ult if he wants to look for that to poke or to finish off of a kill. But really, the most interesting one for me has to be this Ekko ultimate because one of Sylas's big weaknesses in teamfights is that his E tells him he has to go in if he wants to participate in a fight. So now he can grab that Ekko ult, get a big burst of damage off with, you know, his E combo dashing in and using all of his spells, and then if he gets himself in a little bit of trouble, he can use that rewind to jump out of the fight.
We basically built an Ekko. We built a second Ekko. Oh, flash for flash. That's a very positive trade for Splyce if Norskeren doesn't get in trouble here.
It is interesting because, we're going to have to hold that Thux mid lane.
Want to keep the fight going. Ram is just going to go wide. Good use of the Lantern from Jactroll. He's been on point this game.
Now, while this is happening, Cabochard is pushing in the bottom lane, and he does have teleport, so he's going to put down some vision for himself and let the minions hit underneath the tower. But Splyce, because they brought Chachi up, they get full control over the river around the Baron. They also have a wave here, but now a teleport comes in from Vitality. They want to fight.
They're not even going to look at Kobbe. They're trying to slow him down. Cabo, Blitzcrank flashing over the wall, trying to interrupt, trying to get something done, but no, the AD carry is going to flash out for his life. Jiizuké is still getting it, immediately snaps back with the ultimate Norskeren and no man's land, and he will go down. Vitality with perfect access to the pit now.
Now with Cabochard chunked out, Vitality may be hesitant to start this Baron up, but at the moment there's no one that can really walk into the river. Chachi is about as good as it gets, and right now Jiizuké is trying to zone away the jungler from Splyce.
Xerxe looking to go toe-to-toe with the Ekko, but a 4-level advantage is going to make that one difficult. The Elise wants to secure this one.
And Xerxe has the Ekko ultimate. He can go in for a steal if he makes it. No, he wastes it now.
Humanoid now. Jiizuké is trying to follow up, trying to take the jungler out of the equation. His team is focused on the Baron. He's willing to give his life to make this one happen. Vizicsacsi now
Mowgli's
moving
low.
in. Where's it going to go? He has it. Not going to happen in the end. He wants to get it, but he goes down. Attila now on a rampage. They are going to take this one down in the end. It is a mess, but Vitality find the Baron and a 6K gold lead.
It's a flag from Cabochard from over the wall to lock it down. That was ugly, Drakos, but it worked in the end there for Vitality. I mean, Jiizuké doing so much work trying to zone Xerxe away from the pit, but it almost didn't matter because Chachi with the spellbook was switching over to Smite, trying to take that one away. In the end now, 22 minutes into the game is really where Vitality can start to use this Baron across all separate lanes with the 1-3-1. We'll see this one more time because Splyce looked like they got everything in this trade, but a good flanking ward from Cabochard spots Humanoid, who doesn't have the flash. He has to pick one up and then spend that. And then they find the engagement. Norskeren has nowhere to go. Jiizuké is able to snipe out Kobbe on the backside of the fight. And then they go for the turn towards the Baron.
And that replay brought to you by Alienware, and it just continues to play out. You can see how willing Jiizuké is to throw himself into the enemy jungler to stop this play from going down. But Vizicsacsi, he sees his spellbook. He sees his smite. He sees his chance, Ender.
It's the dream, and he comes in here and he actually kills Mowgli. But I think he uses the smite a little bit early right there to try and stay alive. That meant no steal, that meant no fight. The rest of Vitality had to back away.
And in real time, Humanoid is doing his best to stop Vizicsacsi from dying, but the pressure has already begun with this 1-3-1 ender. Ekko on the bottom side of the map, 3 members strong for Vitality with the Elise moving back and forth, and Kobbe on the top side, so difficult spot for Splyce to be.
And now if you're Splyce, who do you send bottom lane? It has to be Vizicsacsi. Zoe has to stay with the rest of the team. She can't clear the waves easily enough. So Vitality are going to reset. They've got now 2 towers. They're looking to break this 3rd inner on the top side of the map, and then once that goes down, they can really start to lay down the pressure. The waves are a bit desynced at the moment, so I think Splyce should be able to clear this away, but mid lane is very hard to get rid of if you send multiple members down locked.
Now trying to lock Jiizuké. Does, of course, have the ultimate available. Takes a lot of damage there in the exchange, and of course, Xerxe has the ultimate from the Jarvan. If he wants to use it, Cataclysm not going to be the priority here. Splyce desperately just trying to pick at the health bars of the Vitality lineup, but have to respect the potential for all, and Jactroll has perfect vision of this. He's just going to throw the hook, and throws it now. Well played. Chain CC now comes in immediately. He's going to go down. I'm sorry.
I don't think that's going to work.
Not going to. Oh, the escape! Jiizuké's on the hunt, goes right back in and right back out. That's the beauty of the Ekko. Now Vizicsacsi trying to find the follow-up. That's a low health Draven. The Ignite is ticking, but it is just not enough.
Splyce know that they needed to try and force a fight, it felt like, but unfortunately it was just a little bit disjointed. Now Jiizuké, he TPs back into the bottom lane, and Vitality, they can just pressure all these towers.
Ender, this is how you know Vitality are feeling confident, when they don't fear anything, when they use those teleports to get back in, to just keep the pressure up. And now Jarvan moving in, canceling out the Sleepy as much as he can with the Unstoppable, and now Humanoid gets taken down as well. Norskeren is going to run for his life. Hook goes wide, so the Blitzcrank will get to live. And Vizicacsi's fighting an Ekko, but Ekko's just hitting the tower. Desperately, they want to grab this one, but Jiizuké just taking his time, just backing off, and slowly but surely Vitality just picking this team apart.
I mean, Splyce just can't find a fight. That's another inhibitor falling in mid lane. Now the rest of Vitality walks down bottom lane, and the engage does not work. Xerxe is unable to find the Ekko, who just chrono breaks right on out of there. Vitality, they reset, they go pick themselves up an Infernal Drake, and can waltz it straight back into the Splyce fountain and look for the kill.
And at this point, Ender, I felt like early in the game, I felt like Splyce were off to such a good start, but all it took was one incredibly explosive play, playing around Kobbe, playing around the Elise engage here, and just bringing the whole team together in the mid lane. Splyce making that one mistake feels like it turned this entire game around.
Yeah, I mean, you have to sort of look at the composition from Splyce as well. It's not like they're very well equipped to look for a team fight. You need to be finding poke with this Zoe, chunking people out and using that poke to take control of pockets of vision, then using that to try and start off the fight with a good engage onto 1 or 2 targets. And they weren't able to find that, and the whole difference sort of tells the story.
That just sounds slow to me. That sounds like a slow and steady play style coming in from Splyce, and sadly, Vitality with their composition, the second they get an advantage, they just speed the game up. You can see it. Mowgli even now is looking for an opportunity to find these picks. Jiizuké is fishing with that W, looking for the opportunity to stun someone up. And right now, it's absolutely Vitality's game. 10k gold lead, 2 Drakes backing them up. 1 inhibitor stands in front of them, and Xerxe grabbing this Cataclysm. Cowboys does not care.
He doesn't. Chachi tries to get some poke. Mowgli going to force him out of the jungle, though. Vizicsacsi's still level 13. He can't buy items for his teammates just yet. If Splyce want to hold on for anything, it is that. But now Vitality with 4 members in the bottom lane. Jiizuké escorting the wave in mid, getting ready for the pick on the Kobbe. Will he go for it? He will.
The stun not even gonna be needed. That Ekko damage is disgusting. Level 17 for Jiizuké. Jactroll going to fall off the hook, not going to connect. Jiizuké just continuing to throw in the poke. Vitality in an absolutely dominant position as Kobbe sidesteps the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Jiizuké fishing for yet another stun. Mowgli walking the wave in mid lane. It looks like Vitality are determined to end. Here comes the ultimate, though, going in for Vizicsacsi. Humanoid locked up, but it might not be enough. Immediately, the Jarvan goes in as well. He's hit the fountain, but he's burning down. He is going to survive. Double kill comes in for Jiizuké. Vitality cleaning it up in style, but nothing left. Pull the Ornn right back into the team. Attila unstoppable now, and this is going to be a victory. He flashes in. He gets Sleepy in the fountain. It's the 1-for-1. But at the end of the day, Ender, Vitality find the win.
They find the win, and they find it quick here up against Splyce. It was just that one team fight in the mid lane, inside the jungle of Splyce, and Vitality, their train would not be stopped.
Really, at the end of the day, we got nervous. We looked at what the analyst desk said, and we're like, this is the inconsistency they talked about.
Oh my God,
it's
they
all
died
falling
twice.
apart. But it was also the Splyce early game they talked about. And then the mid game, it was Vitality who showed up, who found that opportunity, who turned the game around. And once Splyce were on the back foot, just did not see much. We saw a lot of engages where Vitality was dictating the pace, and a lot of Ornn horns that I feel like were very responsive, trying desperately to save what was a one-sided fight.
Yeah, he was trying to call for the fight. Unfortunately, Vitality outmanned them, they outgunned them, and they just took it to him right there.
And with that win, and of course Sjokz was lost earlier today, Vitality are in sole control of second place. Crucial as we move forward, as we look at what that can do for you. Of course, puts you into the pseudo double elimination bracket. They will have to hold on to it in the games to come, but definitely have to be feeling good about it right now.
You absolutely do, and we know this team lives and dies by their solo laners, and Cabochard and Jiizuké had two incredible performances in this game. Cabochard had Mowgli play for him early on, they were able to dive that Ornn, build up a big advantage, and use that initiation tool to just dive onto the backline repeatedly, tag team with Jiizuké to kill Kobbe and Humanoid nearly every time.
And you gotta remember, we were kind of scared when we saw the Draven go down early game, but then when you look back onto the top side of the map and you saw what was basically a 40 CS lead in the early game and 2 kills as well for the Jarvan, you kind of remember, oh yes, that's right, recently when Vitality had been winning, outside of that Schalke game, it has been so much about Cabochard on the top side of the lane, and just proves once again that putting those resources into him is well-deserved.
Yeah, and it proves that Vitality still know how to fight these mid-game team fights and still know how to then, after you build up advantage, play that split push game with Jiizuké. He was so good with it in 2018 on picks like the Rise. He played the Ekko back then as well.
Signature pick. We can look back to Worlds. I mean, it's fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic coming in, and we saw he knew his damage pretty well when he leaped forward and one-shot the enemy AD carry. That was brutal. Of course, that's the product of, I think, a 6-level lead and probably 3 or 4K gold.
Yeah, like Rabadon's Death Cap, Lichbane, Protobelt. That's a Sork Shoes. A lot of damage on target with no MR.
Feels bad being an AD carry in that situation. Of course, in a Blitzcrank in that case really cannot save you, and it feels like when Splyce got rolling, you're like, I can see it. I can see the path to victory. But the second that anything went wrong, the train kind of came off the tracks. Well, if you thought that Cabochard, Jiizuké, or Attila had a solid performance, be sure to vote for them as key player of the game at Esports on Twitter is the place. And who do you give it to?
I think you got to give it to Jiizuké. He had the one-shots. He never died in that entire game.
And he didn't get the crazy amount of jungle attention that Cabo did.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of like
he didn't need a babysitter to help win the game and pop off.
Well, it's a subtle flame, but we'll take it. All right, well, the LEC Spring Final is getting closer and closer with tickets for sale at eu.allesports.com/Rotterdam. Be sure to join us on the Rift the 13th and 14th of April. I, for one, am incredibly excited to go back to Rotterdam. It's going to be so cool. I wasn't there the first time, but I guess
me neither.
LEC going back, whatever. We're both excited to go. Regardless, we're going to learn more about Vitality's win. To do that, let's check in with Quickshot and their mid laner.
Thank you very much. I'm joined by Jiizuké. And Jiizuké, just as you came off stage, you said to me, I'm just waiting to have the time to blow up an enemy carry. Dude, the game ended with you blowing up Kobbe. What did it feel like at the end of the game, knowing that you were ahead and knowing you kind of steamrolled after a crazy early game?
I think everything went according to plan except the bot lane 2-2. And we knew from draft already that we would win the game, and pretty much, yeah.
I love it. Whenever I think of Ekko, you're one of the Ekko players that always comes to mind, especially when we look back to last year. Why today do you pull the Ekko out? What was it that allowed you in the squad to play the champion?
Just Ekko is really good against Zoe. I think it's a classic matchup, and it's a bit disrespectful by Splyce picking Zoe like this, but it's fine. I get to play Ekko and Smurf on it, so thank you, Splyce.
Smurf on it. Let's talk about the early game because it looked a little crazy. It kind of felt like Splyce maybe had a little bit of a shot for the first few kills and the first few plays. So what went wrong in terms of communication is something the casters may have felt allowed Splyce to get some kills onto your team?
I think it was just, I didn't watch I was watching mid, but probably it's a misplay bot, and well, a dive went wrong on the T2 top. I don't know what happened there, how did they get there, but they died there as well. So I think it was overall maybe 2 mistakes, and then everything else was clean, and we just played the game as it was supposed to be, and yeah, we won.
Well, congratulations on the win. Last question before we get to an ad break. You guys are now in control of second place. Obviously, taking down Schalke last week and them losing today means you've got a 1-win lead on them. What are you going to do to maintain a top 2 placement, and that means a guaranteed trip to Rotterdam over the next 4 weeks?
Well, we are going for the rank 1, so I don't want rank 2, I want rank 1. And we are looking forward to just improve every week until the G2 week, and hope that we are consistent enough to take the win against them.
Well, I'm looking forward to congratulations again on the win today. We'll see you tomorrow. Right now, we're heading to an ad break, and when we come back, Spring Split continues. GG. Thank you.
Vizicsacsi just going to be an escape route for the Elise, and Jarvan is here. Just try it, but it's a low health bar for Mowgli. He's already using the escape, and they're going to immediately go in.
Bot lane, Attila with the flash.
Hook goes in. Nice pull forward. They are going to get the knockups. Xerxe immediately goes, oh my god! Mowgli now in trouble, has to go up, comes right back down, wants to get out of this play immediately. Xerxe has stolen the ultimate, is now going to fall on Norskeren, throwing the hook over the wall, and Jiizuké and the rest of the team now fighting here, trying to get something done, but no, the AD carry is going to flash out for his life. Jiizuké still getting it, immediately snaps back with the ultimate. Norskeren in no man's land, and he will go down.
Getting ready for the pick on the Kobbe. Will he go for it? He will.
The stun, not even going to be needed. But at the end of the day, Ender Vitality find the win.
We are powered up.
Get the Baron Buff Power Play with Shell V-Power.